your dreams.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Honkai Star Rail video, and today I'm just going to be talking about Kafka. That's about it. If you like the content, leave a like and subscribe. So Kafka is a 5-star Nihility character that focuses on damage over time. Her skill will deal more damage to the enemy if that enemy has a damage over time placed on them. Her burst deals all damage to enemies and can also inflict shock on them for 2 turns. The shock damage is based off of Kafka's attack stat. Kafka also has a passive that lets her do a follow-up attack if an ally attacks an enemy. This follow-up attack will cause shock to the enemies, and this shock is kind of similar to her ultimate shock, which will make the elation buffs that you get in Simulated Universe pretty interesting since Kafka can do follow-up attacks. So if you're not into damage over time whatsoever because you just don't like it for whatever reason, then Kafka will be an easy skip. However, it's not surprising that majority of the player base really wants to pull for Kafka since she's got mommy Dami vibes, and most of you probably want her to shock and stomp on your balls or your cooch, whatever you got down there. Anyways, because Kafka does focuses on damage over time, she is going to pair very well with characters that also deal damage over time. So you got Kafka on the first slot. The second slot could either be Sampo. Now, Sampo's passive lets him get a 65% chance to inflict wind shear on an enemy, and the wind shear is basically a damage over time, but with wind. Sampo's ultimate also buffs the damage over time that's placed on the enemy. All enemies, to be more precise. So if Kafka placed her shock on the enemies, then her shock will deal even more damage with Sampo on the team. Now, if you don't want to use the boy Sampo, there's also Luca, who's another option, who's a damage over time that focuses on bleeding, which is like the physical damage over time. Luca's skill basically inflicts bleeding on the enemies for at least 3 turns. Serval is also another option if you don't want to use Sampo or Luca. Serval's skills has an 80% chance to inflict shock on the enemies. However, at her E4, this is a 100% chance along with her ultimate as well. And since Serval is a Erudition character, she's basically going to be applying shock to all enemies at E4. Serval is also a lightning element, so if you want to run Kafka in a mono lightning team, then Serval is going to be your best bet. All of the latter 3 characters that I just mentioned are all on Serval's rate up. Are all on Kafka's rate up, so you should have no excuse of not having any of these characters because they're all on rate up. Now, there are other options for the second slot, like Hook. Hook can deal burning damage over time, and I think Himiko can also deal some damage over time as well. We don't have another 5-star character that specifically deals damage over time damage yet, but whenever that character does come out, they are going to synchronize well with Kafka. Now, the third slot in the team can either be a Harmony or a Nihility character. Yingguing, for instance, is a pretty good option. She's not that skill hungry. Her buff on the skill lasts for 3 turns, so you're not going to be using her skill that often. Bronya is also another good Harmony character that you can have, although Bronya is pretty skill hungry. But Bronya will allow you to attack multiple times in 1 turn. Silver Wolf Bronya is a good Nihility option since she can debuff the enemy's attack, defense, and speed. It will also enable Kafka to break enemies with lightning, and if you want to run mono lightning with Kafka, then Silver Wolf Bronya will be an excellent choice. And the fourth and last slot can be any Abundance or Preservation character of your choice. It's not really going to matter. As long as the 4th slot can enable your team to be alive, then you're all good. Now, as for Kafka's eidolons, I think her best stopping point for spending players is most likely going to be E2. E1 on Kafka basically powers up her follow-up attacks, and Kafka's E2 basically boosts your damage over time for all allies. Since you are most likely going to be running another damage over time with Kafka, then that damage over time character is going to get a boost from Kafka's E2. I personally myself might go for E2. I have no idea yet. Anyways, now as for light cones for Kafka, first we got the Fermenta, which basically increases Kafka's break effect and her shock damage. Next light cone is called Good Night and Sleep Well, which will increase Kafka's damage the more debuffs the enemy has. So if you do have a ton of Nihility characters that are just debuffing the fuck out of that enemy, then this light cone is going to be pretty good. Next light cone we got is called the Eyes of the Prey, which is pretty fitting since you're going to be Kafka's prey. Anyways, increases Kafka's hit rate and her damage over time. Now, as for her 5-star light cone, which is called, I think it's called Patience is All You Need. That's obviously like her best in slot light cone. Now, the former light cones I mentioned are obviously going to be good if you're just only interested in Kafka herself. So I think Kafka as a character is going to be a pretty good addition to Honkai Star Rail. She's really going to excel at what she does, which is damage over time. So it is going to be pretty interesting to see how she affects the meta. And I say meta pretty loosely since this is a HoYoverse game. I am really excited to roll for Kafka. I'm sure we all are for various noble and pure reasons. I really can't wait until she comes out. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you going to be rolling for Kafka? And by the way, if you like the content, just leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye now. Come again soon.